Survive like a spy. This starts off about how to recruit people. In essence, you're looking for somebody who is in a job that has potentially access to useful information. This could be in a university performing weapons research, or perhaps a low level person working at an embassy. The point is that you have to establish a genuine connection with the person that you're recruiting. You have to show that you care about them. It's often easiest to get somebody who feels slightly insecure about their job and is also short of cash. So, what you'll be doing is speaking to them, hanging on every word, finding out about their hobbies, for example, and also taking up similar hobbies. Because the relationship between a case agent and an agent, aka a spy, actually grows over time and a genuine connection is made. It's not a case about just seducing somebody for the sake of seduction and then discarding them. It's genuinely about getting a caring relationship going, because the person you're running, your agent, will know if you don't care about their safety. So, what's in it for them? Well, surprisingly, the main thing that Americans can offer potential agents or spies is to fund their children's education at an American university. And when you think about being a spy, there's manipulation and persuasion. And actually, spies need to be manipulative. And this is the ability to get what they want without the person thinking that it's actually what they want. And this really is the key difference between how you'd succeed or not succeed. So let's take an example of a low level functionary in an embassy, and the money would help them. So you start off asking a few questions about their job and giving them a small amount of cash, and then you build this up slowly, making sure that a few $100, perhaps to a few $1,000 change hands. And this means that the informant starts to become comfortable telling you borderline things. Then you have to justify in the informant's mind their behavior. And to do this, you have to almost become in control of them so that then they become comfortable, enjoy the benefits, also enjoying the risks that they're taking, and then they will justify this in their own mind and continue. Seemingly Moscow, or Moscow, as Americans would call it, as it's written by an American, are that's one of the hardest cities to be a spy in. And there's actually a long list of about 40 different rules that agents have for working in them. There are 10 that are mentioned that are seemingly the most important. Assume nothing, never go against your gut instinct. Everybody is potentially in the opposition's control. Don't look back, ever. There's always potentially somebody around you, so you're never completely alone. Go with the flow and try and blend in. Vary your pattern and stay within your cover. I'll cover a bit more of that later. Lull them into a sense of complacency. Don't harass the opposition. Pick the time and place for action and keep your options open. So that's very interesting. But let's talk about survival techniques as a spy. There's an acronym called SDR. This is Surveillance Detection Route. And this is what you would deploy if you think you're being followed. So whatever you do if you're being followed, don't just go home. They'd know where you live and potentially you'd be vulnerable for attack. Instead, look as if you're going about your day-to-day business. It has to be in a plausible route. So you may want to go to a balloon shop, a cake shop, a supermarket, and that would look perhaps as if you're preparing for a party. However, if you went to Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, then Costa's, it would just look weird. This is, of course, unless you're with children, in which each of their particular demands, that may not be weird, but your SDR has to look authentic and natural. You may also want to identify a few hunker down sites. These are things like cafes, restaurants, bars, libraries perhaps, where you could go, appear as if you're in your normal behavior, and you're ultimately waiting for whoever might be following you to leave. Now you can choose any public place that really you could wait reasonably for several hours without arousing suspicion. Clearly, if you're in imminent danger, phone the relevant authorities. You may want to have a cache or a cache that is an emergency stash of things in which you can put money, weapons, matches, water purification tablets. The book goes into quite extensive detail. It's interesting that actually when you leave that there, you should consider wiping it down with WD-40 to eliminate fingerprints. I think the main point here is that you need to keep reassessing your surroundings on a regular basis. If you're just engaged with your smartphone, anybody could be following you. So catastrophe strikes, a bomb goes off. What do? Well, firstly, it's important to stay low, as flat to the ground as possible. You should grab anything so that you have less chance of being tossed around. Perhaps crawl under a heavy table so that there's less chance an object or debris will fall on you and injure yourself. Try and stay away from windows, big mirrors, electrical equipment, or any unstable tall furniture. Staying low can really help you by preventing serious injury from shrapnel. Also, when you're staying low, take slow, shallow breaths. This tries to prevent blast lung. This is the pressure from the blast that can be so strong it can actually cause your lungs to blow up like a balloon and cause serious injury. Then what you'll want to do is wait about a minute before you exit, and that's really to make sure you won't be hit by any fallen debris. There is sadly a rule of thumb: when there's one bomb, there's probably more, so be hyper vigilant after that point. If you're trapped in rubble, increase your chances of staying alive by covering your mouth with some kind of cloth, staying calm, still, to preserve your energy. What you want to do is attract attention. So if you can find a pipe, for example, to just tap on close by, that may alert emergency workers that you're there and they can potentially evacuate you safely. So you must remember that people who feel like they have nothing to lose can take their dangerous behavior to extremes. So you may get threats, unfortunately, and it's important to evaluate these. If you've got somebody who is local, then you may have to be alert all the time, whereas if it's somebody who isn't local, don't go overly crazy worrying about what this person on the other side of the world may do to you. Clearly, if you've got somebody who's threatening you, stop contact with them altogether, and also ask your family members to stop contact with them if relevant. It's also wise to document everything that occurs, so if needed you can provide this to the law enforcement. If a radical group is threatening you, don't try and reason or argue with them. You will not win. And it's of note, you don't have to forgive irrational behavior because somebody is dealing with difficult circumstances, but whatever you do, you shouldn't ignore it. When you go to a new area, always pay attention to people who have lived there longer than you. They know things that you don't, and they could potentially save your life. So never just show up thinking that you know everything. Stay alert, listen, and learn. People such as taxi drivers and waiters can give valuable information. Let's talk about rapport. You need to have this to be able to potentially recruit people and also get on with people that you encounter in different locations who can give you valuable information. So when thinking about rapport, instead of me telling you what you should do, let's tell you what you shouldn't do. So that would be coming across judgmental. So avoid statements, whatever you do, to say, I don't get why you do that or think that. Avoid giving advice. People actually want approval. So what you can say is along the lines of, that was a smart move, rather than, you should do it this way. Don't be the person who has to win an argument. Just let the target win. Also, don't be a one-upper. If somebody tells you that they've had a big sale, congratulate them. Don't just immediately start a story about how you actually sold even more another day. Avoid interrupting the target when they're speaking, and certainly don't finish their sentences for them, and never downgrade somebody's status or profession. Looking at influence, there's a book that I have reviewed already called Influence. I'll put the link below. There's a YouTube video there. But there's several key components. There's reciprocation, authority, scarcity, consistency, liking, social proof. And I'd also mention that I'm going to be reviewing and summarising the sequel soon, Persuasion, which adds the concept of unity. But these are all important things to think about when trying to influence people in your potential role as a spy, or taking the learning from being a spy to your day-to-day life. And the art of elicitation involves trying to manipulate a conversation so that the target starts to give away information that's of great interest without often knowing that they've done this. So there's some methods that can be used. These may be flattery, playing dumb, developing a common interest to ensure that you have future meetings, perhaps using false statements so people can correct them. Of course, having to be a good listener, listening out for what they say, repeating words back in a hope that they'll maybe give more information on which tactics their particular company or organization are using. You have to also be aware that somebody may be using these tactics on you, so don't unintentionally share knowledge. You may have somebody who claims to be an expert who may deliberately then give misinformation, hoping that you'll correct them. Or they'll perhaps say a lot of information appearing like they're knowledgeable. You may be inclined to show them that you're also knowledgeable by giving them information. Don't fall for this. Instead, if somebody's asking you about information, just either say, I don't know, please look at the company website, or just simply change the subject. Let's talk about kidnapping. This is something I, of course, hope nobody ever experiences who watches this video. But there's the two most dangerous phases. There's the actual kidnap, and then there's the rescue. If you think about which you've got a higher chance of escaping, it's the actual kidnap. This is because you'll have had a good meal, hopefully your vitality's running high and you've got energy. So if there's an opportunity to escape and exit, do that. If fighting them off isn't an option, what you want to do is try and stay calm and focus to observe as many details as you can about who is abducting you and where they're taking you. It's actually knowing that focusing on picking up these details will both keep your mind engaged and make you less likely to panic. And if possible, try to leave a DNA trail. Your kidnappers will probably have an awareness of this and try to clear up after each location they move you from. So think about hiding things in unusual places, such as behind radiators, under rugs. If you can inform your family and friends that you have been trained in anti-kidnap techniques, the people who are looking for you will then be sure to check for slightly more unusual places, which in essence would help people find you. It's also important to try and be submissive. This is to try to make the kidnappers not see you as a threat. They'd be less likely to tie you up vigorously, and perhaps they may even just leave you in a room unlocked as they then trust you. At that point, you may wish to just run away. And it's also important to try to make the kidnappers see you as a human being rather than an object. The book explains how to escape from a duct-taped chair. All you need to do is lean back as far as you possibly can, and in one swift and fluid motion move your head towards your knees as if you're assuming the crash position in an aeroplane. Worth considering trying at home. If so, feel free to leave your link below of your demonstration videos. When you get to be rescued, often the rescue team will start off by making a repetitive noise or a signal that's meant to sound like the environment around you. So it may be that, say, a rooster will make noise, or it'll be a pre-recorded rooster, but if you're held in a rural area, that may sound normal. So that's one of the other reasons why, if you're in the unfortunate position of being kidnapped, it's important to stay alert to your environment. Therefore, you would know what may sound unusual, and that would give you an idea when the break in to rescue you is occurring. If and when this occurs, the advice is to go on your back on all fours so people see that you don't have a weapon and you're not a potential kidnapper. You may have wanted to fake an injury beforehand, such as abdominal pain, so that you could hear the signals. You could suggest a reason why you have fallen to the floor because of the abdominal pain, and then you're hopefully less likely to get shot on the retrieval mission. So you want to access a restricted area. That's fine. There's one secret. Just act like you're supposed to be there. Don't glance around looking like, who's looking at me, who's paying attention. Just behave normally, and chances are nobody will question you. And what you'd want to do is try and make these connections through your life with people in hotels, for example, where you're staying, shopkeepers, because they may tip you off to say somebody's looking for you, or provide you with essential information about what to do if an emergency occurs. And the other thing, if you're traveling, is to consider supporting the local economy. Terrorists are less likely to blow up their own people. They'd be more likely to target places where there's lots of tourists. So if you're going on holiday, good for you, enjoy it. But it may also be more enjoyable experiencing the true local experience by not just going to the tourist hotspots. And I think that it comes down to building an immediate sense of trust with people. So when you meet them, have a broad smile. And this subconsciously lets the person think that you're somebody they can trust. You can have a relationship with them, and potentially you could recruit them to be your agent. Book covers other information, such as how to build a weapon. I won't go into that here at all, but I do hope that you've had an enjoyable listen of this, and if you want a like or subscribe, that would be fantastic. I shall see you next time.